So, Regina, what's up?
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
Do you have some issues about the way we're doing the Parmenides group? Huh?
Oh, I haven't really thought about it, to be honest with you. Are there some issues? Down the road, that I thought about it. Maybe I have.
Pardon me.
I don't, why do you ask?
Your comment, one comment which I responded to, was that you, the way I was proceeding didn't give you an opportunity to ask questions. Do you remember that, or?
No. Ask questions? No, I don't, that's not what I said. I saw it as, no, that was
You
not-
saw it, what?
I saw that. I get upset when you point out about reasoning, like, did you notice the way that such and such is reasoning right now? And that to follow that reasoning. And it's very hard for me, it's a put down to say, that person is reasoning and therefore I'm not. And I'm going,
Pardon me, that's an inference. If I'm talking about someone and not you, you're adding a level of thought.
that's one, or you.
No. What do you think of my comment? That's interpreting.
That would,
If I say to someone that they're reasoning well, why does it follow that it's an indirect criticism of you?
no, that I am not following their reasoning, or that I'm not reasoning, that I'm not reasoning right now.
Okay, either way, how can it be a criticism? Is it not? Even if you take it the way you took it, why is that a criticism? Wouldn't you want to explore what's going on? If it is true or if it's not true? What? Okay. Hi. No. Say, if you're not following a certain reasoning that's going on, then I point that out to you. Is that a criticism? Is that a personal put down? No. See, why does it turn out to be a criticism for you? Come on. No, you don't. You don't need an example. Because you just gave the example.
Because I did say I did in a conversation, trying to follow a discussion, and the question was something like, well, have you been following this discussion? Like, what am I in? So
Yeah.
it's hard for me to, at that point, to say, stop and reflect and say, what are you talking about?
Why not? Why is it hard?
Well, if I translate that as a
Pardon me, that's the issue. That is not an attack. That's a claim.
that's true, but I don't, because it hurts to hear it, and it's also difficult at that moment in time to follow through, because if there's a particular belief at that point in time by someone saying, the discussion you're in, have you been following? It's not a genuine question. It's an assumption that they perceive I haven't been following. And that's sad to me.
That's,
sad.
wait a minute,
like-
what's sad, hold it, why is it sad? It's either true or it's not
Because
true.
of the judgment at that point in time, rather than just turn around and take it upon themselves to follow through and say, hey, this person isn't seeing something, what can I do to bring them about?
But isn't that giving the person an opportunity to say if for some reason they weren't following? Like, it's kind of like, hey, like, what's going on?
That's different.
Have you been following? Like,
I'd say yes.
well, I'm just trying to say that the question is an opportunity to express some block that stopped you from following, if that is the case. So therefore, why take it as an attack?
And that's how I see it.
But you said of course, and then you went back to that's how I see it.
Of course, related to how I would relate to if they ask, are you following this discussion? That's a question. Not that you haven't, it sounds like you haven't been following it, or it's brought in the middle of a discussion which I have been thinking I've been following. And then suddenly it's like, well, have you been following this discussion? It's not a question, it's a judgment.
It's a judgment. You had a point?
Well, I can see that point of view. If somebody was to message with a certain kind of tone of saying that to you, then it would come off that way. But yeah,
But if it doesn't have that tone,
if it doesn't have that tone, then if I was in that position, I would be honest with myself. Like, hey, maybe I have been following, but I'd be daydreaming or something. My mind was somewhere else. But
Or maybe the person is seeing something I'm not seeing.
yeah.
If it's without that, whatever you call it, tone, some external attitude, whatever.
Right.
So you stop and you say, okay, what do you see?
But
I'm not asking you, I just want to say that I've asked you.
what do I see? I see that, when it happens, I see you shutting down right away, and you kind of protect yourself.
Well, I know.
Yeah, and then you react. Yeah, and so.
I can't pick you up your audio up on this. If you're willing, appreciate it. Thank you.
And then I see this thing you're doing, it as like shielding yourself from everything else.
Yeah.
And you appear hurt, you appear terrified, and then you I don't know if this is contributing, but then you completely like become this like a hurt child like person. I don't know I'm sorry if I don't know if it's fighting that correctly or not, but
Well, that's an interpretation. Yeah.
no, it's an observation.
If
It's
you
not
say so.
it's not an interpretation.
No, he added to her child, I don't know.
That's an observation, you're
Oh,
saying. Hey,
I
that's
see.
life being.
He said you appear, so that is how he is
Yeah.
experiencing what
Yeah.
he's seeing.
Now, is it worth exploring? Is the issue for you?
Of course.
Huh?
Yeah, but not now. I won't do it now.
Why not?
I don't want to.
It's okay.
Don't move.
Is it happening now? Are you taking this as a criticism?
Nope.
Huh?
I just don't want to right now.
Is this does this sound like a personal criticism of you?
What? That I don't want to? Or?
That this discussion.
No, I think it raises some good questions, but I'm not going to explore it here.
Good. Good. That was a well expressed and well said statement, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Think something of it.
I hope it helps somewhat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm in that situation where I seem to, and I know I have my fault, but you know, if I'm in this group, please point it out to me. It might be hard for me to hear, but it's a way to grow. For,
Yeah.
You know, for me.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
Growth. Well, that's the issue.
I tell my boss that too sometimes. My boss is younger than me. And because the role of an Asian culture is that usually the women are, and if you're a woman and then you're younger than the man, it's even double whammy to like, you know, I can't give this older person advice because what do I know? I'm younger than them and I'm plus I'm female. So, and then, but it's weird because she's younger, she's female, but then she's my boss.
Yeah. It's a double whammy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said to her, I said, you know, if there's something that you see that I'm lacking,
Yeah.
please let me know or tell me how to do it.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Doesn't it bring the question of why are we so attached? Like if someone is sharing something they see about you that is not ideal, I guess.
Mhm.
Why? Right, we take it so personal, and we take it.
Oh.
We're so attached to this
Some image.
image.
Yeah.
But why? Right?
Well,
Why,
wait a minute.
why, like,
No. That's the kind of question that you should give to Barbara.
okay.
I would like to hear what she has to say.
Oh, hi, Barbara.
Sorry.
But isn't it interesting? It's just interesting
Woo!
to me, like that we do that. Like, so we're on the topic, Barbara, of or the question right now is why, when something is pointed out to someone that is a problem or not ideal, when that occurs, why are we so offended or attached to such sharing?
Wait a minute. Let me just. Do you think she's a good person for that?
I think she's
Good.
the ideal
Good.
person.
Think she's a good person for that question?
Person.
Good,
Just
good.
coming in fresh.
Good. And fresh.
I don't think I'm a good person for that question. No, sorry. Life goes on. Although I'm not clear on whether you're talking about the reaction of the person, the sharing of, for example, a dream, and then someone gets something, someone sees something, perhaps through midwifery exploration, and then they have a reaction towards that problem that they have being revealed. Is that what it is?
Sure. Or how do you see it differently?
Sure.
Well, I couldn't tell by the pronouns whether it was the
Yeah.
person watching such a demonstration, or the person undergoing such a demonstration who was having the reaction.
I would make it simpler, just anytime we're offended. Isn't it curious? I think that's an underlying issue.
Anytime we're
Personal.
I'm really
Yeah,
not the person.
It's like if I say to Bradley, like, hey, Bradley, I noticed something about you, and I thought I would let you know that you do this thing,
Yeah.
and I've noticed you doing, and it's kind of, and then I described to him,
What you
the-
observed.
yeah, the observation I made about some maybe potential problem.
Okay.
And then the question is, why would he feel so
Defended?
hurt by that, or
See, but watch. Wouldn't you agree you can add to this discussion from last night and your dream review?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the dream review before that.
Both, yeah.
the
like,
one?
like the issue that might come up would be, we even have, use the word difficulty in a loose way, we sometimes have to go through something even to discover some self-image that we don't even know we have,
Sure.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, and then you might take an offense when someone points it out, or you find a situation where it emerges and
Yeah.
don't like it, and that's the other side. See, it's the same problem,
Hmm.
So,
is it not?
Is it so?
Yeah, it is.
Is it wet?
I think might be a little
Absolutely.
damp.
I'm
W-
sorry.
would-
Yeah,
Pierre,
that
would
side.
you kind of, can you summarize
Sorry about that.
this by, when we demand we're right, that we're in a problem?
When we,
When we, right, officiate, we're right.
insist on.
Insist, yeah.
good luck.
Right,
From that point on,
Right.
good luck.
right. Right.
Well, isn't there several levels to the problem? One is that someone pointing it out to you isn't pointing out your pathologos, because they don't know what it is. What they're pointing out is simply what they observe, right? And they
Yeah.
don't know really what the names are that you put on them.
Yeah.
But it's very likely to be something you're very attached to. A self-image.
Yeah. So these self-images are difficult to surface, right?
Hmm.
And even when they are surfaced, there's a difficulty in accepting what follows if I give up that image.
Yes.
Yeah? Like, hi, how you doing?
Hi.
I understand you're giving up Michael Jordan.
This is true. Yeah.
What's it like having to give up Michael Jordan as a hero?
It's very
The warrior.
peculiar because it's not in a million years I wouldn't have picked that as a problem.
See, that's so important because it's
Yes,
only because of a
unsuspecting.
dream that surfaces.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
it's
wet.
totally unsuspected, right?
Fully unsuspected.
It's like when I heard about it.
Just take it off.
Sorry.
Hey Dave.
Hey.
Distracted with you.
It's like when I heard about this news that this is a problem.
Yeah, what happened?
It's kind of like it's like this very strange. I don't know how to describe it. It's definitely like a looking inwards,
Yeah.
and like dumbfounded. It's like I don't know. It kind of silences.
Hey, go ahead.
It kind of puts me.
Go ahead.
It kind of puts me in a state of silence because it's kind of like it's like some kind of energy has been neutralized. That's how I kind of think of it. It's like this thing was going on, and then all of a sudden I see that it's not a good thing, and then that thing is kind of like neutralized,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I'm just like,
See, are you familiar with the drama he's talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, especially Michael Jordan's story. Yeah, good, good.
So,
you left.
so then would this translate to like a game that we all play
Mhm.
within ourselves? Like, you know, until somebody else points it out. Wait, that's a crazy game you've been doing. Or
Yeah.
that's a game that's maybe not be right for you, but
yeah.
should you look at it? And then you're like, oh, but I've been doing this for however many years.
Yeah, and then I realized that it's actually a game. Didn't even realize I was playing a game. I thought this was just the way it is.
Way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Pierre, would you, is a kind of a measure is if you get offended, you still have a self-image operating?
Without a doubt. He saw something.
He's not something.
It's just fascinating to me, yes.
But isn't it fascinating that it can only surface through a dream?
That's beyond.
Right?
yeah,
I mean, right?
incredible.
Who would think to look there?
Who would ever
Yeah,
dare
free,
think?
free, right?
But then all the dreams that we've had sleeping every day up to our lives now, and all the dreams that we've never discovered and unpacked, can you imagine all those stuff that we could have learned?
Yep.
Just in case.
Matter of fact, I don't know where this is going, but it's a fun story. Nancy calls me. She said, "I just got a phone call from our daughter Aaliyah, and Aaliyah's saying that Gavin woke up this morning. This was yesterday, and he said I had the most remarkable dream, and he's taping it.
Oh.
And she says something, and he says, 'Shut up! I'm a bit busy. This is too important.'
Yeah. Yeah.
So out it comes. And he said, his mother said, 'What are you going to do with it?' And he said, 'I'm going to give it to Papa.' I'm called Papa. We'll go down to Stacy Bone, and we're going to get it.
Huh.
So,
Amazing.
wait a minute, the kid's amazing. He's going in for coffee. Right? He's saying, 'Hey, it's not time for coffee.'
He's how old is he now? Like 10?
So I don't know what it is yet, but
Cool.
I'm willing to say it's going to be damn good.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He already sees it. He already sees the potential in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So early on.
Taping it right away in the morning. Getting it. Shut up! I'm busy. Right. So you're right. Like we have dreams. See, what would it be like to live in a culture where they do treasure dreams? See, I'll tell you a funny story which I think I've told before, but it's pressing on my mind, so I'll repeat it. When I was younger in New York, living in New York, I was with a group of people, and we decided that if something was going on anywhere that we could visit, we'll go there, see, especially in this kind of pseudo-wisdom tradition, see.
Cool.
So, a new book came out, a couple of articles by Stuart. The guy's name Stuart something. I'll think about it in a minute. He was an anthropologist, and it was said that he visited Borneo at the time. Now it's, of course, has a new name, but he went into the interior of Borneo and visited a tribe that all the adjacent tribes never go close to this group since they're so ferocious. They're all afraid of this one group. So he went in. And by the way, when I went to his house, a group of us went to his house to talk to him, he had all the bows and arrows and the paraphernalia of this tribe. So he visited and he said, you know what? They have a dream culture. And every morning, the first thing everybody does is review dreams. And if any of them can't understand it, the family, they go to until they finally go up to the high chief. It's that important. But what's interesting about it is, according to this chap, they always want the dreamer to show that something worthwhile came up out of it. Some consequence, which is important.
Some positive.
Yeah. And one of the things they often looked for was a new dance step, or some new way to play music or to sing or add to their culture. And by the way, it turned out that his account was so miserable that we saw he was a phony. So years later, by the way, his work had been copied and passed on through various students and classes and commentaries. And only recently, it's about 10 years ago, I saw an article that someone disclosed that he never did get there. It was all made up. He made it up sitting in a hotel in Borneo.
Oh.
And he just dreamt up the thing and pushed it out in order to gain a little fame.
Fake
Weird.
Damn.
Yeah. Stuart, I get his name. Darn it, forget his name. Clinton, no, something like that.
That's why I was gonna ask, if they're so ferocious, how the hell did he get in as a white person?
Yeah. Yeah. So, but see, in a way, that's what we have. We have a dream culture.
Yeah, and different, right? I mean, I'm assuming that. Is there any, like, was midwifery in existence? I mean,
No.
like, right? So that's likely to be different, right? What you're the
Oh,
meaning
yeah.
you're getting from the dreams.
Yeah, yeah. He did. Yeah, since he made it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't one possibility that people are offended when they see their self-image is that it isn't simply their self-image, it's the way they have to relate to everybody and everything. And it's how they are connected to their family. And it's a little bit like having someone say, and your mother wears GI shoes, so there. You know, I mean, there's like
Yeah.
loyalty. which
Sure.
you talked about.
Sure. And unsuspected.
Yeah.
There's a
And
loyal,
so if it goes away, if you get an insight into it, he could speak more about what that's like, because it seems to me there's a positive there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's your turn. What do you think?
I didn't
maybe
quite
you did.
I didn't quite get the
Well, when you get an insight into a self-image, we talked about the side of being offended, right? But Pierre just brought up that there was this guy who made up a complete story, but one interesting element was that you were supposed to carry away something positive from a dream analysis. So, in your case, you were asked the question, what was it like, or what has it been like since you had these two dream analyses and so I wondered if you might speak to that.
oh yeah.
Yeah, in other
Actually-
words, what did you get out of it?
Yeah, actually, while you were talking about the tribe and how they had to show something of value after the dream, I actually noticed that the way in which I practiced the piano, I talk to myself the way that Michael Jordan would talk. It's very it's
good.
It's very rough. It's like critical, like get it right. It's like make a mistake, and then when I make a mistake, it's like no, it's like this. It's not like that. It's like this.
Getting mad at yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean that was kind of dramatized, but it's a little more subtle. But it's
So what's that done for your piano playing?
well, it allowed me to. It's like opened up space. Before I could practice for maybe an hour or something, and then I would start to get tired because it's kind of an ordeal
Well, it is.
getting
Yes, quite true.
beaten up the whole
Yeah,
time
yeah.
by this voice. So now it's more the duration is I can play for longer and it's more light. It's a more light experience.
Like maybe it's more playful.
More playful, yeah. Playful.
That's a good one.
That's a great one, yeah. Yeah, and I did some things with my drumming yesterday that were very new.
Oh. So.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so
What?
maybe a different attitude, increased duration, and more creativity,
Yeah,
it sounds like.
exactly.
Ah.
Playfulness is an
Yeah.
important.
And space, you said. I really like the word space. More space.
Yeah. Like this, there isn't as much of a restrictive force on my play. Right.
Is this a dream?
Yeah.
Yeah, two groups. I'm sorry, are you asking?
Oh no, on the table too. Just letting Pierre know. I don't
What's
know if
this?
we're gonna cover that or not.
Is that a dream?
This is my dream, but Jeff's dream is looks.
So it looks like this. Jeff and Eldar has a dream.
Oh, well, let me pass them around.
Is it here? I think
Is
he
it copies,
just did
Jeff?
a copy.
There are copies there. Do you want to go first, Eldar, since
why
we're
don't
on
you-
your topic right now?
I mean, either way,
Is this? I don't know. Which
I did do a lot of dreams already.
Okay, someone else's?
Yeah.
Let's do Jeff's first.
Okay.
Brad, did you say you had
Copies
one?
for everybody, or?
Oh, you actually made.
Regina, you have one?
This one.
Who's this? is?
Me.
Oh, good.
I got one.
Interesting. Very thing we're talking about.
Isn't it?
I pointed out to her.
Earlier thing we were talking about? Yeah.
If you guys are cold and you want to go inside, okay. I don't know where you're at.
It's up to you guys.
I'm layered.
I'm
so
fine.
This is good.
I'm coated.
I can prepare.
Okay.
It's not easy for me to move all the equipment. I'll just do my freelance practice. Pretty impressive. Thank you, Brad.
Yeah, you guys started talking and I was like, oh.
When was it? Last night?
2 nights ago.
What?
It's a pretty profound dream you got here.
What the heck? Do you want your lump of gold? What is
I
this?
thought you'd like that, Regina.
Yeah. What lump is that?
Yeah, this dream was very,
Whoa. Oh, you picked something.
right at it.
That's great,
How
Right
isn't it?
at it.
appropriate.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Take you by the nose. She smacked me back. I mean, you know, my dreams are not usually violent.
So just before we start, can you tell me?
Complete breakdown of the logos, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Can I tell you?
By the way, what's the history of the lump of coal?
Right. Well, as I recall, it never got used in my family. My sister would never say that. It doesn't get used in my family. But I happen to know someone who had that come up in her life, and I
No.
was present at her dream work. And as I recall, it set the stage for what the family wanted her to do for life.
Yeah?
But it is very easy to take that.
Oh, yes. That's something
Personally.
you learn, see? So
Right.
that's
You take it personally, but actually it's really them just manipulating you into something. Yeah.
Well, what would you say, sir, about the dream? Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, right.
Questions, how you would proceed? Anyone want to, before I jump in?
Maybe I want to ask what was it like when before he says pointed out to her that she chews with her mouth open.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what would you ask then at that point?
So how do you feel before you say that?
Okay,
Before you point that out to her, what would you?
okay. The reason I asked is because he does have some explicit remarks, about that issue that you're avoiding or don't need.
Yeah, the way. Okay, what was it like when you say? Where's the word? Do you have to eat like that or something? Where is it?
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah. Or hey, is that necessary?
What,
Yeah.
what, Gina?
Hey, is that necessary? Can't you eat
Okay.
without making that sound? That's
Okay.
that would be a derogatory.
Others?
Yes.
Others?
I'm with it.
You're with her?
Yeah.
Right. Or you're together?
I would ask about this. She looks at me directly with attitude. I would ask what it was like to see that.
Okay. More? Others?
Josh?
I like the questions. I would probably just ask you what it was like to hear her chew.
Same.
But before
Essentially,
before the,
Yeah.
they gotta come together is what I'm
Yeah.
thinking, like
Yeah.
the couple of it.
yeah.
I'd be interested in why she's able to turn the problem back on him.
Yeah.
But his question is a
Say,
setup.
um,
Hey, is that necessary?
Can you eat without
Right.
making that
Like, is
sound?
that- yeah.
okay. That's exactly
Right.
Without
where I'd
making
go.
that sound.
right. Okay.
Yep.
What's it like when you said, hey, is that necessary? In the dream.
It's a little difficult because that part of the dream was fuzzy, and I'm not even sure that I said it exactly that way. Give me a second here to sort of pull back that. this is actually, it's not that hard. This is pervasive through my whole life. I mean, I just what the hell? Hello? And even her friend is agreeing with me, like, I'm trying to get out of alleys in Long Beach, and there are these monster trucks to my left and right of the alley, because that's where they like to park, because their damn trucks are so big that they can't put them anywhere else except next to intersections. But intersections are the worst place for them to put them, because now you can't see around them because they're 2 stories high. And it's the same feeling I have when she's doing this. I'm just giving other examples, right?
Yeah.
I'm like,
I can so relate the parking lot.
right, so, I mean, I think and I thought about this dream, and I thought, and her friend is even agreeing with me, and I'm thinking, the problem is not really that I'm wrong. I am correct. The problem, however, is the way I'm responding to it. And I'm letting it take me into this, like I could have approached her differently, perhaps, or at a different time, or right, or maybe I could have even moved myself. There's lots of other options I could have done, but it's like,
Yes.
kind of like I wanted.
It's the issue is how do you respond to that?
Right.
How did you respond?
But I still haven't answered your question, though. I'm just trying to get at it. I'm trying to help myself get at it, but it's just, I mean, at the visceral level, it's annoying. I'm pissed off. I'm indignant. I'm resentful. I'm angry. And I feel like, what am I, chopped liver over here? Like, you don't even see me, you're just gonna, right? Like, you know what you're doing. Kind of reminds me of this show that I saw on, and I know it's not rational, but I remember 60 Minutes actually went to Israel and interviewed people who had been bombed out of their apartment the day before with, like, missile launchers from across the valley from another apartment building. And the entire building is in shambles. And the thing that struck me was that they interviewed both sides. And by sheer chance, I guess, or maybe it's just, both sides said strikingly similar things. And
Which was
essentially that those people know they're wrong. Those people are wrong, and the thing about it is they know they're wrong. And then the other side exactly said the same, like they're wrong and they know they're wrong. And they still do it anyway. I'm thinking, wow, both sides said exactly the same thing. And they both they had this image of each other as, you're going ahead and doing it anyway, even though you know it's wrong, right? And I thought, well, there's a prescription for war. You both have that image of each other. That's going to go nowhere.
Is that
Do you need some more?
strong, Pierre?
It's the same cup.
Sorry.
What's that?
That must have been my cup.
What is it?
I put sugar in mine, I'm guessing.
Say, what's similar between the truck and the dream?
There's just such lack of consideration for another person. That's at least how I'm interpreting it. And the other thing is, I think about trucks, like, those things should not even exist. Those things are why we're in foreign wars. Sorry, David.
Truck.
I mean, and they're dangerous. I've been in an accident with one, and they just cream people. And I'm just,
Then what would you say is in the dream? What is being violated? Since I understand the truck image now.
My father used to get angry in restaurants because people would bring babies in. I think it's the same thing. Like, he would get all pissed off. I used to too, Sam knows. Like, and I'm not talking McDonald's where everybody sort of has to go to grab a quick bite. I'm talking really, really nice restaurants, and people would bring babies in and they just start screaming, and then they don't remove the baby. And my father would just get furious. Like, don't you have the consideration to just take the kid outdoors? And besides, this is an expensive restaurant. Don't take babies here. If you have the money to pay for this, then you have the money for a babysitter. Hello? People don't want to come and listen to your baby. And then people would say to him, well, you must not like kids. And he would go, you're missing the point. I love kids. It's the bad parenting I don't like.
There's something similar.
It's really...
Those, but we don't have a name for it.
Yeah. What is that?
I won't mention it.
You can tell I'm just getting worked up talking about it, right?
Have we heard his state of mind yet?
I'm kind of working. I've given you emotions that I
You
experienced.
said angry and pissed off.
Yeah, frustrated, angry, pissed off.
That's in reaction to the chewing, the statements as well, so looking at it.
It's certainly, it's a violation. All of the things you mentioned are violations. And people are violating unconsciously, or without thought, or without consideration, or without thinking. They're violating something. Now, what was your father upset about? Good example you used.
I mean, I could answer it on several levels, but I assume you're asking at the deepest level.
Sure.
It's not just noise. When he purposely went to a quiet restaurant and it's not quiet. The restaurant manager's doing nothing about it. The people in the next place or at the table are not doing anything about it. So I could answer on that level, but what about that bothers him? And why doesn't he do something about it? Like, he could go to the manager and say, would you please move me, or move those people? Don't you have a baby section and a non-smoking section? I mean, he could do something about it instead of gripe.
Because
But I still haven't
was there
answered. I don't
some
know what it
similarity with
Yeah.
what your father did in the restaurant and in your dream?
is. Yep. Yep.
Oh. Violates a certain philosophy.
Well, that's interesting. What do you see? What philosophy?
Well,
That people should not be rude to each other. The world should be a better place.
no. Of course, that's one way to express it. But since that's common to other kinds of philosophy, it doesn't name it uniquely. It is a disease.
Ignorance, I guess?
Oh no, that's okay. Yeah, of course it's ignorance, and it's a deadly disease, and it's defended by many noble Western philosophers, by the way. The most pernicious of them, by the way, is David Hume.
Yeah, I knew that's exactly. Yeah.
Politeness.
Politeness. Politeness. Opposite of which is rudeness.
Same thing.
Politeness. Say more?
It's a disease.
Politeness is a disease.
It is one of the
Ow.
worst diseases you can have.
I see.
Barbara has gained great insight into this from accounts I've heard.
Well, you use the term considerate, but it sounds like it's functioning in the same way.
Pardon
But
me?
I don't know what, I said he used the word considerate
Yes.
and consideration, that there
Yeah.
was a lack of consideration
Yeah.
in people who let their babies cry, or truck drivers who park their trucks. So when you say I have insight into this, what is your meaning?
Well, I'm holding that back for a few minutes.
Ah,
All right?
yet you expect me to proceed.
No, no, see. See, it is such a disease that it's taken on a great status by itself in certain countries.
Ah,
Can you
Sure.
name one of the countries?
well, I think the Middle East is one of those.
Ours, as well as
Ours, yes. Well, I was thinking the Middle East, they have a lot of, at least the students in
England.
England also, yeah. Oh, I see what you're talking about. Okay. Yeah. Or, in this case, they have made it a cult of not revealing
Yeah.
directly
Yeah.
state of mind, how you feel. It all goes under the category of stiff upper lip, but
Yeah.
it means you can't explore any problem without going against
Yeah.
that primary.
But there's a certain arena that they can oppose publicly, and that's called being rude. Polite people are not don't really object to injustices, but they are very offended by people being rude and inconsiderate. Is that right?
Yeah, that's interesting too.
How do you know it's right?
Well, you can see it, right?
No, you can see it.
How do I know? Well, yeah, that seemed to accurately depict the English, or a politeness, right? That you're not into justice, actually.
No, never.
Right.
Decorum
So
and
it's something
discipline.
else.
Justice is rude.
Sure.
Justice is rude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's upsetting.
Yep.
Right.
Injustice.
Injustice, yes.
Is that what you said?
No, justice is rude to the English.
Like if someone were to have said to his father at that dinner table, "Hey, aren't there a lot of injustices around the world? You're picking on that family and that kid." I mean, it may be inconvenient to you, but what do do you want to put all that vehemence against this when you're allowing injustice all over the place?
Right.
What do you think of that?
Does your sister have the same indignation that you represent or demonstrate?
Good point.
She come right back at you with her criticism of you?
Are you asking in the dream or in
the
waking
dream.
life?
In the dream. And then it just escalates from there.
Yep, she does.
Yeah, it escalates from there. It's absolutely. What do you think of the point he's making? David is making.
What do I think of the point?
Well, put a question to him then.
Put a question to him?
Well, I asked you, what did you think of the point that David made?
I agree with it.
Yeah. What does that mean in terms of the dream?
I don't know.
Well, see, it causes you not to be polite.
Oh, so there's an essential hypocrisy.
Yeah, and so that ends up in a,
In the absolute extreme of
right,
impoliteness
Right.
on both sides.
right, on both sides.
It's like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, we're firing missiles at each other across
Yeah.
the valley into each other's
In what way is
apartments.
it the opposite coin, other side of the coin?
He was.
Yes.
It's like two sides of the same coin. You're going to play all the roles, and whatever indignation your sister suffers is going to come back on you, and then you're going to go back on her. And like I say, it escalates.
And it did. We fought like cats and dogs as kids. Only into adulthood did we.
And what were the
gradually-
causes of the fights?
To this day, I don't. Well,
Offenses? Minor offenses?
I think so. Our
Offenses?
parents tell us that when we were quite young, we were inseparable, complete
put it-
and total friends.
They put it into that, I'm sure.
But as we grew up,
What would
the same kind of anger.
What caused the schism? That kind of anger, that kind of indignation?
Yeah. Yep. Probably every one of them.
So eventually your parents
And
stopped.
we'd get into these, well, it's your fault because you said this, and then she would say back to me, no, you said this earlier, and we could never agree on what we said. And I just remember in college one time a friend of mine was sitting in the back seat of the car, and he says, I just want you both to know that neither of you said what you thought you said. But it was always just with that sense of the same indignation, like it's your fault, you started it, you were. But we would very quickly lose track of that initial scene.
Oh, yeah. Now it's a matter of
Very-
honor.
Right, it's quickly gone.
Yeah.
What even started it?
It makes me think about how important it was your dad must have appeared in that scene. Like, we often ask them to compare those to other scenes.
Yeah.
Like, what was he like in the rest of his life?
Say, why do you think you have this tree?
That's a good question.
Yeah. What was it like doing with their nose? What was that moment like?
Well, actually, I think I put it down in the dream itself. I actually surprised myself at how quickly that arm came out and took her nose. It was so instantaneous, it was so fast, that I even surprised myself.
Yeah.
And yet, I had a sense right at that moment that it wasn't going to do anything. It wasn't going to affect her. Even though, and that it was really a cheap shot to sort of go to the physical level. In the dream, I was feeling like, wow, that's really, I was surprised at myself for doing it, and I felt powerless. It was a sense of powerlessness. Like, I have to go to this level.
Interesting state of mind, isn't it? That out of that comes that kind of a response. At the same time, you're realizing that it's not going to work, that it's futile.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Would you say futile as well? You didn't. That wasn't your word, but. It was
Well, I said it's not going to work, so yes,
Yeah,
it's futile.
yeah, yeah. Curious state, isn't
Yep.
it? What are we going to ask about it?
Where it goes back to.
Astonishing.
There are so many fights that I had with her just like this as a kid. It's really a milieu.
Say that
I
again.
there are so many fights I had with her as a kid and growing up.
No.
I can't
No,
remember any
no.
particular.
There's so many fights you had as a kid that were allowed and not stopped your whole life. And therefore, we want one of those scenes so we can see what's going on.
Well, there's one, but it was really late. But I had clarity in it. I was fighting with my sister over something, and I felt like she was. Again, I don't remember what it was about, but my mother was standing there, and I was already in college. This is so late. And my sister is almost as big as I am and as strong as I am. She's really an ox. And so when we fought physically, there's no guarantee that I'm going to win. She would win sometimes. So here we are in college, and something happened, and the next thing you know, and my mother is standing there, and my mother, I forget what exactly she said, but she stood by both of us. Keep in mind, we're like 20 years old now, and she said, she encouraged me to put my sister in her place. She encouraged me to beat up on my sister. And I did. We didn't throw punches, but I pinned her down.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know what that means. Could you tell me? I'm new to this country, and English is my first language. So.
Put her in her place?
Yeah. What does that mean?
Show her that she's wrong. Punish her for being whatever way she was being. God, I wish I could remember the context of the.
Are you suggesting that she wants you to do something she should do?
Yeah, am I operating for her, right?
Oh. Well, what does that mean?
And that's the last time my sister and I ever fought. It means I'm being used, baby.
Oh.
I'm a tool.
You're a tool because she can't do it or won't do it, or one of those reasons. Is that right?
And I didn't even have enough presence of mind to know why I'm being used.
Yeah.
Like, why am I choosing to do this? Or
Yeah.
am I choosing?
Yeah.
And why does she want me to do it? And what does it do for her?
Yeah.
And I think that's why this is the last fight we ever had, because I could see it was so late. We're adults now. And it was so irrational. And there was
so rational.
rational. For me, I thought it was highly irrational. And
No, we're back to your mother.
yeah.
So, if it went on your whole life, your mother is now telling you in words what it's all about, isn't she? And you saw it and that ended it.
Like, teach her a lesson. Yeah.
Is that what your father was doing in the restaurant? Trying to teach them a lesson?
Yeah, except he didn't say anything to them.
Yeah, but is that what the display is? Because the other party, the person must have heard it.
No. In most cases, not.
Pardon?
I don't think so. In most cases, not. They would not have heard it. Maybe they
Would
did
they
in
have
some.
heard your father is the issue?
I understand that. No.
Because he spoke in such quiet tone?
Yeah, just to us.
Huh?
Just to us.
Just to
Under his breath.
Oh, under his breath. Oh, good. So it looks like your mother is using you for what purpose then? To what? To be what?
Some
Well-
kind of enforcer of what, I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe politeness.
yeah. It's a deadly disease.
Yeah, it's a completely different way to go through the world. If you assume that the world should be polite, and anybody who isn't is violating, that's one way to look at the world. But if you go through the world in another way, which is the world is rarely polite, and that's just the way the world is.
Oh, thank you.
That
See, polite is a mask.
or
Not revealing what's of the greatest concern. It's a mask. Gives the appearance of being stable and wise without any depth. Therefore, it never concerns itself for injustices that can't be aroused to take any effective action.
well, the brilliance of the English is really become the brilliance of the Americans. They really, both of us learned how to run empires from tables of politeness while
Yeah.
people are being drawn and quartered out back, outside of view.
Yeah, that's right. What does that mean? Good word, good.
What does that mean?
Yeah. You said it well. What does that mean?
It means that their so-called politeness exists on top of and because of outrageous acts of injustice, of which they don't have to acknowledge and can pretend to be above.
Yeah, like, do you know what nation turned out to be one of the greatest drug dispensers and smugglers and distribution of...
Us,
Huh?
we,
Pardon?
the U.S., we're the worst by far.
The British with opium.
Oh yeah, 100 years ago, right?
And
Yeah,
that's
but-
how they gained many a fortune with their castles.
Well, but when I say us, we have taken that model, and we are now.
We've taken that
Every
on.
country we go into in the name, Americans don't know this, but every country that we go into in the name of a war on drugs, we triple the drug trade in, enrich their elites, and then
That's
take 90% of the profits for our
That's
black
right.
projects,
That's what we do.
for our black ops.
We're drug dealers.
Yep. We're the worst.
Yeah.
Most Americans don't know we have over 800 military bases in other people's countries.
Yeah.
All the while being polite.
Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah.
a great disease, you see. Because then no one will ever challenge them in public.
Mm.
That's the key. We don't challenge people where they got their money.
That's my workplace.
Yeah.
It's an agreement to not talk about those kinds of things while people are making egregious increases in income for doing nothing, and no one talks about it.
Yep.
Well, isn't the dream though about your response to that? Like you are trying to respond to the impoliteness? Or what you perceive as impolite? For jumping? Like this is his way of responding to it.
Yeah, it's the way, I think, and it's the,
See, it does raise the important issue. What would be the, ideally in terms of that dream, what would be the right way to respond to that?
By the way, I have to throw one more in. It's not personal before I answer that question. Nastasia just told me, you know how researchers, what a great researcher she is. She told me that 2 past French presidents have now publicly admitted that having looked at the French budget, you know, we hold the French in such high esteem, right? A month of vacation all year, right? The lingua franca of Europe and so forth. They've admitted that without their extraction of profits from some of the poorest countries in Africa, France has no economy.
Of course.
So everybody's living off of Africa in France.
Hey, Europe has been living off Africa since they colonized Africa. That's why they colonized it. I mean, the joy the British discovered and the Dutch discovered with the diamond mines and the gold. I mean, they ripped off that continent for 200 years.
In the Congo, they're now making Chinese.
I mean,
mandatory in high school.
Yeah, they're the greatest rapists of history. But they're polite.
Right. Well, I used to hold them in high esteem because you get free education, you got great health care, blah, blah, blah. You get a month off vacation every year. But all of this is on the backs of, on the invisible backs of other people.
No, yeah. Well, see,
How can I...
no one decided to ask how we can have an economy with less work. Then gold doesn't matter, and diamonds don't matter, and oil doesn't matter.
That would be an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the question.
Right. So how does this fit with what's going on? I think you just touched on it a bit. At work,
Oh, yeah. Well, it was after I had this dream, but yesterday a professor came in who used to suffer from, still suffers from alcoholism, but he hasn't touched a drink in 20 years. But he had, first time in my life I've ever seen what they call a dry drunk.
Oh.
A dry drunk, that's what they call it in AA.
Right.
Someone who acts exactly like they're drunk and they're completely, there's no alcohol in their system, but they are on a rage. And he came into my office, and I love this guy. He's one of the smartest people I know, and boy has this guy been fucked over by my university. And he came in and just let loose normally he's polite. And he came in yesterday and closed the door and just, I found out things about my school that I hadn't heard ever. And they all make complete sense. I know how unfair this place is. It really is. It's a playground for opportunists. That's where I work. Is this place where people go and get themselves bigger and bigger and bigger chunks of salary
for doing less and less.
And they do absolute. I don't know what my boss did for the last 6 years, and he's making 50, 60 grand more than when he came in, and I'm like, why? But he's actually underpaid compared to other people in his position around the school, and the place is monstrously opportunist.
Yeah.
And then they tell the janitors, and I have a friend who's a janitor. She comes in and we talk a little bit once a week, and she told me they're telling the janitors union they've put them off for, I don't know, a year, 2, 3 years now. They can't get a contract out of it, and they're telling them we can't even afford 2% for you guys for raises. I'm like, Jesus, my boss just made 20% raise last year, and it goes up from there.
Yeah.
And my chancellor makes more than the president of the whole 9-campus system. Some of these people are making 800 grand and stuff. I'm like, Jesus, so you're telling us that you can't pay 2% more to a janitor? She's got to go out and sell Nutrilite or something just to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And
what was it like when you heard that guy sounded off?
I just kind of went, yeah, this is how it is. This is. I did ask him. I said, "Why don't you move? Why didn't you go somewhere else? You're so smart." I gave him a list of colleges he could have taught at.
Yeah.
But his wife worked here, and he wanted
Well,
to
that's
stay.
very important.
But I asked him, "What would you do differently next time?" It is. Well, you can get in with your wife or husband. That's always the rule. If you can get in, then they'll get you a job for your partner. But if you get in as a single and then later want the partner, they always say no. It's kind of a rule. I don't know what to do in a world that's so unjust. I guess I've gotten to that point. I just don't know what to do in such an unjust world. The more that I find out, the more I just... And the thing that it disappoints me the most is not even the fact that this asshole wants to build a wall and that's going to be the solution.
No, pardon me, he wants...
To build a wall for $5 billion. And he's shut down the feds. You know, people can't even get paid now. The economy's... I'm thinking... Why doesn't anybody bring up the most obvious point? It's not rocket science. You don't build a wall. What you do is, if you really hate immigrants that much, and I don't, but if you were a right-winger and you really think this is the problem, then the solution is fine every board member of a major corporation $10 million for every illegal immigrant, unpapered immigrant. And anybody who hires somebody in their house or on their lawn gets a $10,000 fine. The problem is over. If that's the way you view the world. Personally, it isn't. For me, if I lived in the EU, I could work anywhere in the country, in any of the EU countries. Why shouldn't we do that in North South America? I should be able to go work in Paraguay if I want, right? They do that in Europe. This whole stupid thing about crossing borders, the problem is not immigrants, the problem is jobs. Or, as you say, let's even reconsider work.
Good idea.
But instead they're having this discussion over the stupidest thing, and they're willing to shut down the country's largest employer. TSA officials are walking off the job now.
This is the state of mind of
What
your
do you-
dad at dinner. This is what we're watching right now.
See, with all...
I don't know what to do. I'm just overwhelmed with the level of
Isn't
injustice.
it like,
But don't you find it
we haven't
interesting?
got the answer to the question. We've now got your rant. No offense, but like, you're
It's
exposing
true.
your energy.
So, don't
It's
you
true.
find it curious that everything you've just said, now you look at your dream, and what are your concerns in the dream?
It's a microcosm. It's just the same. It's just, how can people be so inconsiderate? But, and the thing about the dream that's so beautiful is that, you know, there really is no reason for her to would make that sound with everything that she's...
No, see, wasn't it interesting?
The puzzle is, why does she feel compelled to continue to do so? And I didn't follow that
That's right.
logos with her.
That's right. That's the dream.
Yeah.
That
No,
you
I-
stayed on that level.
Right.
In the everyday world, you're conscious of the fact that a different kind of question is important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what pulled me out of that?
right.
Yeah.
And it looks like the role of politeness is still playing a role in your psyche. But what's interesting about the dream is that in the end, you no longer are holding to that position.
How so?
Well,
To slap
end
or
up in
hold
a
a
fight.
nose.
You end up in a fight.
At least you're not being
And
polite.
that's similar to the story you gave about your sister. It's like, it looks like you're not carrying the conclusion from your sisters in the dream.
I'm missing that. I'm not carrying the conclusion from this.
What conclusion would you draw about your mother's role in this issue of politeness that you discovered when you fought your sister and they had battles when you were in college age?
That I'm being acted through, or exploited, or used as a tool. It's not even my fight.
Yeah. See, you saw something then, you gave up that role. It stopped, no longer went on.
Yeah, but I didn't fathom it. I still didn't. I knew there was something uncomfortably wrong about it, so I
Yeah,
stopped.
right.
But I never did grok it.
Right, so now, so you have to draw the conclusion from that event, because the dream is saying you're still in it.
That's right.
And you gave up the logos, you gave up your rational.
And apparently
view.
my parents both shared this.
Yes. Yeah.
It wasn't from just one side.
Oh no, hey, this is a terrible disease.
I don't know, what am I missing here, Pierre?
Well, from what you're saying is that on recollection, you revived the story. And now, did you understand in the past scene the role that your mother was playing? Or is that new to you today? What's the significance of the fact that your mother is carrying, as you pointed out, you're picking up a role from what she's saying and you're doing her bidding and not your own?
Well, you've asked that several times, and I think we've arrived at the conclusion that I'm being exploited myself. I'm being used.
Yeah.
But somehow it doesn't yet have the power.
Yeah, that's right.
of-
It's still in the dream. There's something that's missing.
Right.
So, and it goes back to that slogan you used, which was so good, put her in her place.
Teach her a lesson, put her in
See,
her
that's
place.
playing a role in the dream as well as in that past. So there's something still in that slogan that we're not touching.
You know, I think what comes up for me is the phrase that the activists like to do is speak truth to power.
Mhm.
Probably that's what my sister did. She may not have said it well, or maybe she did, either way, but she probably confronted me or my mother about something
Mhm.
that she didn't like, but the very fact of bringing it up is impolite.
So, and then you're being used.
To enforce it, because I'm already a subscriber to
Yeah.
that system.
That's an addition, you see. You thought your sister may have been justly in presenting something.
She might have been what in presenting?
Presenting something fairly, in a fair way. You added that.
Well, it could have been fair or unfair, but the point is, it doesn't matter. There's something that she's seeing. Well, yeah, the content itself, the way she presented it might not be the most excellent
No.
way, but she's seeing something she doesn't like,
Yeah.
and rather than address it with dialogue, it's angering me.
Yeah.
So I'm out of control. I'm not able to rationally address it myself. And that's being condoned,
Mhm.
cultivated.
Yeah. What we do not oppose, we imitate.
My parents, I was the opposite of my sister. I was the flag waver, get the good grades, well, my sister's got good grades too, but I was the polite one. My sister, we would go on ski vacations, and my sister would bomb down the hill. Sometimes just in a straight line to see how fast she could go. Forget turning. And they would get so mad at her.
That was your role then, huh?
And they would try to convince her that she's a danger to the other people. She can break their backs if she collides with them. blah, 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 all of which is true. I mean, this is what they say in skiing is, hey, you can't be that way unless you're the only one on the hill. There are lots of other people, and if you go out of control, you are going to take somebody out. But I think they were, it was a state of mind that they were more offended by.
That's it. That's it.
And the safety was just an excuse for it.
Yeah.
She was in a state of utter joy and freedom and politeness, for that matter.
She ever hurt anybody?
No,
I mean, hurt herself?
no. But she was considered to be the wild one and the black sheep, and
You're gonna tame her.
yeah, that's it. Taming.
Horse team.
Good.
What
Thank
was
you.
it like when she was chewing? Like, what did she look like when she was chewing in the dream?
She had her head turned away from me.
Untamable.
She was coming the other way. What?
And I was just wondering, I mean, what state of mind she was in when she was chewing, because that was the state of mind that you asked her if that was necessary.
I gotcha. Well, it wasn't like bombing the hill and having the joy of the wind at your hair, but to some limited degree, though, she's still doing what she wants in the way she wants to do it.
She may enjoy hearing herself.
It's pretty fun making sounds with your mouth.
Kids do it all the time.
Huh?
Kids do it all the time.
Yeah.
It's
Be-
a sense
beatboxing.
of freedom in a way,
Yeah.
but maybe when one does it by themselves when there's no one else in the room, you know, like singing or something.
Because it's not polite.
Right.
I think it's really curious how we use politeness now. It really just seems like a mask eventually for a volcano. Like, because then, you know, you're allowed to say, oh, you hold in all the injustice. Then finally, when somebody does something impolite, you can call them on it. Then you can unleash all the injustice that that you've bottled up, and then it's appropriate to then act with that rage. People then don't. People think
justified.
that's justified. Yeah, like then that's okay. Like it's just two extremes. Like I know this way of living, Jeff. Like I'm not British, but apparently I am. Like I see it all the time. Like. And then they have no other way of responding. Like it's just the other extreme, which makes you exactly like the thing you hated.
You know,
It's also like good and evil, isn't it?
yeah.
We kind of.
It's okay then to commit evil.
Well, that's the hypocrisy of it. Is I think what Pierre is going at, maybe all of you as well, is that it pretends to be on the side of good, but really it's at the expense of really some crazy unjust stuff on the bottom side.
all
And so
over the
politeness is really saying what it really is about is denial. You agree to deny
That's
along with me
That's right.
that we are exploiting people out back
That's right.
behind the curtain.
Yeah. And we shouldn't be doing what we're doing.
So it's kind of like going into Oz and pulling back the curtain on the wizard. That's impolite. I'm going to have to think about this because even as you all talk about it, it's really difficult for me to hear what you're saying, and that tells me that this is really this has been my whole view on the world.
Yeah.
This is the box I've been in, or one of them.
That's right.
Look how much power you get from it. Those fucking trucks!
Yeah.
Like, pretty high, you know. Like,
Sure.
You end up wrapping her, and you're like, wow, wow, like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of vitality. How are you gonna do with that stuff?
Yeah. Well,
But it's so, you say power, but actually it's so draining. It's the exact opposite.
That's what I was really interested in your talk, is when you said that you knew it was futile. So that would be a state of mind that I would think would be interesting to explore. Because somehow in the middle of all this chaos, at some moment he sees it's futile, but he still goes along with it. So like, is there a scene where that gets passed in his past?
The grabbing of my sister's nose was futile, but the thing that surprised me is it was not a conscious decision like, oh, I'm going to show her and grab her nose. That arm came out smack, and next thing I know, it was on her nose, and I'm like, whoa, how did that happen?
You talk about it like it's someone else's arm.
It really was like someone else's arm. It was just, boom. And I was
but
like, whoa.
that's the nature of an unsuspected false belief about oneself, captured in a gesture.
It's so automatic.
Right.
There's no rationality. It's just clickety click.
That's right. And behind it all is, in one way, you're an observer of your own self and don't know why you're doing what you're doing, but you have to do it.
Which is, in a sense, the definition of irrationality.
Oh, yeah.
I was wondering where the self fits in.
And by the way,
to all
go
this.
ahead.
I was wondering where the self fits into all of this, and what politeness
That's easy.
it doesn't,
Killed.
and what politeness does to the self.
Does
Like here we are sitting around, and all of us know that the chances of this new generation having grandchildren is going to be pretty close to zero.
Yeah.
Right? Like now the oceans are warmer than they ever expected. The whole thing is going to melt away. I mean, we're in the middle of it, of the most gross tragedy, and we're all polite. Like this guy can close down the government and everybody sits around and saying, oh, well, let's see what happens. We're all polite.
Wow, people are
We're all
starving.
polite.
Yeah. We're melting the earth.
How can we
Polite.
allow this amount of
Right.
Make more
like-
trucks and pollution.
Right, where this is,
Psychologically, we're already there because
We're already
stuck
there.
in a zero population growth.
yeah, it's population growth.
Yeah, it's already there. People
Yeah.
have already given up on the idea of
Yeah. Like the latest interesting study of the earth turns out that the pesticides we've been using throughout all of our farming has rendered the earth sterile. They're no longer small beings that are underneath the soil that fertilize the soil and keep it moving. It's dead, except that they dump chemicals on it repeatedly to falsify the appearance of soil.
All the
It's all-
bees.
in other words, the whole system lacks mind.
Monarchs, 80%, 90%.
like we rode the crest.
The
of
monarch
Depression, right?
butterflies, they're saying on the coast of California is like,
Gone.
yeah, it's minuscule.
Well,
Maybe
let's see,
one
but
a year.
like,
I heard it too.
okay, but what will we do? We'll be upset
Right, right.
at what? Our egos. Saving our ego. That's our game. What a tragedy, isn't it?
Yeah.
How about it? Want to try?
Yeah.
Yeah. Please take a look. Offer your suggestions.
I'm gonna just use the restroom.
I had a dream.
Did you have a dream?
No, I haven't. No, wish I did.
Oh.
Oh, here it is.
I like the color combination together. Brightnesses, right?
But as a story in terms of the environment, I was telling Brad that it's a story in terms of the environment. I was telling Brad that the other day, or a few days ago when it rained, I walked outside when it was really sunny, and the plants just seemed to thrive, just exploded with beauty. Well, they're not different than when I water it. I could water in the same way. So there's something in the chemicals of the water. But the rain just seemed to explode their beauty.
Yeah.
And I was mentioning that to Miguel, the guy who works with me. And he comes from Mexico, and he says, absolutely, he says, it's just so much different.
I didn't hear that.
He agreed. He said, oh, yes, he sees it himself. So he was, and he comes from Mexico and grew up there and is now here. But he says after a rain, it's amazing what plant life looks like.
Yeah. say, let me raise a question. I think Brad ought to answer this one. Let's see. What do you discover by sitting in and looking at other people's dreams and having them go through things as well as your own? But what do you find interesting about being present when people explore their dreams? Like you could take Jeff's as an example, or anyone else's, or your own. But it's really like in respect to other people rather than your own.
Yeah. Somehow it causes I get a benefit from it in multiple ways.
Mhm.
It kind of sheds light on my own problem and issues somehow.
Mhm.
And then also it seems almost there's a part that's maybe universal, and like I could see an aspect of my own life somehow, almost always, in what they go through.
What do you think of that? Do you find that the case?
Absolutely. I would say very much the same thing.
Huh.
It's we're connected.
Curious. Huh? I mean, have you ever heard a boring dream?
Well, you gotta want to take an interest in the process, but no.
Some might appear that way at first until exploration happens. I think I've heard other people's dream and my dream as well, and then when we talk about it, it becomes something else, something more revealing.
Curious, isn't it? Right?
I've never heard of a dream, and even the dream itself is not boring to me.
No.
You know, aphasia, like what I've said, at some point they're just like, okay, that's somebody else's story. But looking at it, it always opens up the possibility for
Yeah.
and that's nice.
Like if you were to pick on some book that might do that for you, which book would you grab?
Your book.
There are not many, right, that have that immediacy and interest and challenge.
Your books, your questions,
Yeah.
what you do.
So,
This dream.
how would you go?
Well, I'd ask him how he'd go first, and then I'd say what I have to say.
Sure. That's what I said. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't want
Well, that's.
I've got observations about the dream, but I don't want
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah,
Let
right,
the
right.
dream happen. For instance, it's interesting how it goes from a state of being your problem and somewhat playful to being your dad's problem and full of terror. Your dad's project transforms into
I'd look
an
at,
abusive situation.
yeah, in that sense, I'd look at like the first 2 sentences, or I'd look at when he's
No.
falling.
That's, what do you find interesting about the first two sentences?
He gets punched, and he calls it a tap. So right there, he's already kind of like denying some act of aggression or something unjust, and he downplays it. So whatever state of mind is right there in that is masking.
Okay. Do you see that first two lines is just expanded in the entire dream?
Oh, and make them even more dramatic. Yeah. And then there's other places where he sees that he can stop it. Like he sees his dad going to the other room, and he's
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna have to go stop that. And then his dad gives him a look like, no, this shit's serious. And
Yeah.
then he's like, okay, I won't go stop it. And like, so
Hmm.
there's something, like that's another state when he could have
That's
stopped.
treating it like a tap,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
the situation.
Or
is a
something.
tap.
It's just like, whatever, something stopped him from dealing with it.
Yeah. How did the first two paragraphs contain the whole dream?
How?
There were pins in there. Sorry. I just like that metaphor.
Is it like a mohan?
Well, what do you think of that?
It's
Hmm?
it's very interesting. It's I think that the tap is interesting because
What did you think of the remark Regina made?
oh yes, I thought it was very interesting but very quiet.
Well,
Unfortunately.
apart from that, that's
Yeah, I think I can see that it's it's kind of expands. It's like a seed of what develops.
What do you make of that? A dream that has that seed-like quality.
It's very distilled. It's very distilled. And
Like, wow, huh?
Wow.
What level is this dream master communicating?
Yeah, what do you make then of anyone just before I could jump in? Okay.
I don't think he finished though. He said the tap is very interesting.
Mhm.
But to answer your question, Pierre, the implications on this dream indicates that maybe not just this dream, but it has multiple levels to be explored. Personal, pathologos-wise, metaphysical.
Cultural.
And to respond to the point about interesting,
Yep. The way that I dealt with my friend that punched me, I called it a tap. It's very similar to my mom at the bottom because even though he's got her in this grip and he looks all powerful, she's not. She says, please don't break my neck, but she hasn't given up at all. She's still very much fighting him, and she's calling it a tap, in other words. She, like you would think at that point she would like submit, and he would win, but she didn't at all. She was just saying that as a that's what you're supposed to say to, so he doesn't actually do it. But she's still fighting. They're still like on equal ground somehow.
She said the polite thing.
hello?
Kind of, yeah.
Good? That's good.
Or something to get a dialogue
Thank you.
going with, like her attacker, or maybe no.
No, she wasn't trying to do that. She was just like, we're talking about my mom's response to my dad.
Yeah.
It was just kind of George was saying it's kind of like polite,
Mhm.
which is true because it's like, it just kind of addresses the issue, but it doesn't address the real issue. It's just like, yeah, I submit, I tap out, but I still want to get my way.
So, how does the third paragraph capture a great deal of the dream. What's going on in the third paragraph?
Well, I think my mom set us up.
Oh,
She
oh,
wanted.
that was rather clever, wasn't it? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think she gave me the box with the toys and somehow told me that I should play with it or play with the kid in order to make my dad angry.
Ah.
It's all this weird chess game.
Well, that's rather interesting, isn't it? That you're aware of it. You're totally aware of it, aren't you?
I wasn't in the dream.
In the dream, you're perfectly aware of it.
I just didn't want to upset. I just knew that it wasn't a good idea to wake up my dad. Because that's not a good idea.
No, they're not getting to the issue there. Why don't you read it? What follows when your dad wakes up according to the dream?
He is angry.
No, please read it.
Number 3.
Yeah.
The kid is like, "Are you sure we want to play this? Because I just heard your dad up there moving around. It sounds like he's waking up." And then I was like,
Stop. And then you know what to do.
right,
What?
not do something to. I didn't want him to think that we were making the noise that caused him to wake up. Because that would get us in trouble.
That your mother set up. So you knew that you knew this drama.
I didn't know that she set us up.
No. But certainly you knew enough that you might be blamed for waking him up. And this is the price, so you decided to put it away.
Yeah.
Yeah, what does that mean, therefore, that you're aware of in the family?
Aware of in the family.
Because you're hoping that he won't get angry at me.
Well, at this point, I'm just aware that he doesn't like being woken up. He really doesn't like being woken up, and that's a great crime.
Yeah. The worst crime, of course, is that no one can tell him that. Dad, why do you get upset when someone wakes up? Right?
Yeah,
No, no one's dealing with the issue.
nobody can say that. Yeah.
Right?
Sleep in my family has a kind of holy
Holy significance.
significance.
What do you think of that?
Well, it's pretty weird. It's
In what way is it weird? Like you knew it perfectly well in the dream.
Mhm.
Uh-oh, Dad's waking up. You got to better cover up.
Well, the one thing that comes to mind is that I used to have this way of getting out of going to this Sunday school, which was like a Sunday Muslim school. And the only way that I could do it was to pretend to be asleep. Because then they would let me, they would like, just
Yeah.
let me sleep.
Yeah, by the way, why do you believe that?
I don't anymore, actually.
Okay,
Since
okay.
we had that talk,
Right.
I realized that they must have known that I wasn't
course.
sleeping.
Yeah, yeah. So you avoided the real question is, why don't you want to be in that religious school? Why don't you want your son to be in that religious school?
Wait, are you asking me?
Same thing, you, them.
Well, yeah, the problem is why don't I want to go?
No,
I mean,
they let you goof off and not go. Is it worthwhile asking them, how come you're not interested in me in going to that religious school? I mean, let's put on the table, well, what is it to be religious in our family? Right, there's a drama there, isn't there?
well, yeah, it's weird because there's some importance put onto it, but then also there is this inconsistency.
It can't be important,
It's not important.
right?
And I know
One can give the appearance of importance, but it's not in reality important.
Right.
Or they wouldn't proceed at the way in which they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah. And they themselves didn't ever do any religious stuff seriously. It was just kind of like a polite thing, kind of like a,
Yeah, but you see, what it's also teaching is that you don't have to ask why this is going on. We agree not to discuss it.
yeah.
Yeah. The first paragraph, you find that interesting? Why don't you read it?
First there was a scene with Matt, some kind of issue with working together.
That's enough. What kind of issue?
Well, I think we were disagreeing on something.
Yeah. Really doesn't matter what it was, does it? It's enough that you were disagreeing with it.
What do you mean?
Well, because you recognize it's a setup, don't you?
No?
Pardon me. What does it mean when you said you recognized it as a trap? What does that mean in the dream?
The first paragraph?
Yeah.
No, this is a tap. I called it a tap.
Oh, excuse me. You called it a tap.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's,
Yeah, but you didn't. Right. It goes on. It goes off your right. You can ignore it, but I continued my way.
yeah.
But there's no inquiry on what the issue was.
We certainly didn't try to work it through.
But that's similar to the religious school.
Yeah. It's just was allowed to.
Ignore the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, because look at that. And you follow that with, right, I think there was some disagreement with my dad, who was also working. Right.
Mhm.
There's a disagreement also with him.
Yeah. But then he left, and I
And in
was
the
still
same way, in both cases, there's no exploring for us.
That's right.
Right, so that sets up the stage for what follows.
Yeah.
How your mother plays a role. Yeah.
I have a feeling this has something to do with my work,
Yeah,
the work that I'm doing
sure.
at the moment.
But you guys, no one talks about it.
Yeah.
This whole dream is that no one's talking about it. Right?
It's kind of like
Dad's upset in the first paragraph.
it's kind of like there's an agreement not
Yeah.
to talk about it.
Right? You realize, hey, putting away these pieces, hoping he won't get angry with me.
Yeah.
Same thing. Right? How about paragraph 4? He's on a mission.
Yeah. He's not. He doesn't. It's not about the work anymore at all.
That's right, he's got a mission.
Yeah.
Behind the work,
Yeah.
right, he's got some mission,
That's right.
right?
This
Which
is-
then unfolds in 5 and 6, doesn't it?
Yeah. This is a personal
He's got,
vengeance or something.
he wants to settle something,
That's right.
and all of this is camouflage till he springs it on her, is that right?
Yeah.
So, in the dream, what's it like when you realize he's on a mission? In the dream at that point, you see he's on a mission. What's that like, seeing that?
He's kind of like a. It's kind of like a steam train. He's set.
He's set.
He's set on
Right,
something.
right.
And
right,
he has his
he's
goal.
set. Right, you see it,
Yeah.
right?
He has his goal. And
He has his own goal, right? You see it.
It's scary.
Right, scary.
It's
And everything that follows in the dream is watching the mission play itself out.
yeah.
How important then was that kind of seeing?
Am I seeing?
Yes. When you're saying, hey, I see he's on a mission. What's that like? So it's scary. You're seeing,
Hmm.
and it's scary, right?
Well, it's very clear to me. It's quite clear and obvious.
Good, clear seeing. That's right.
Because he's the way he's moving, the way he looks, it
Yeah.
all fits into
Yeah. Oh, mission.
yeah.
Oh, mission.
It has nothing to do with working.
Has nothing
He's
to do
using
with
a tool, a jackhammer, but he's not using it to work. He's using
That's
it
right.
for
He's
something
setting
else.
it up.
Yeah.
Careful. But you know you better not say anything about the mission.
Yeah, he
Right? But you know
That's right.
that you better not say
That's
anything
right.
about him being on a mission.
he shuts me up very easily.
That's why the preceding is, right? Yeah, he shuts you up even waking up in the morning and you know, uh-oh, I know a commandment in the house, that thou shalt not be the cause of Papa waking up,
Right.
right?
But I meant the.
That's a commandment,
That's right.
sure.
But I was talking about when
Yeah,
I get up to follow him to make sure that nothing bad happens, and then he just kind of he puts these two buckets in my way,
yeah,
and he just gives me a look,
that's enough.
and that's it. And I'm like, oh,
That's the second
it's
place.
that serious.
No. What's that like, seeing that? That he sees you and you see him, and you both know what's going on. Come on.
See it.
See, there's different degrees of seeing. Is it likely that you're on a mission yourself at that point? And he says no?
Yeah. I was on a mission as well.
He says, I don't like yours.
Different
I'm
kind
on
of
mine.
Yeah, different kind of mission.
Right. His that priority.
My mission was to interrupt his
Yeah.
mission. Actually.
Right. That's your job.
Yeah.
He said, not this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's all over missions and who has the right to continue his mission, yours or his or your mother's, right? Yeah.
when he gives me that look, I don't even know how to put it. It has a lot of power. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, by the way, does everybody know the rules of this game in the dream?
even the little kid knew something.
Sure. Would you read paragraph 5?
For a moment, it looks like they are aware of each other through
That's
the wall.
Right?
Yep,
How's your seeing?
it's very good. It's like
Dream is seeing and what you can do about it.
what I can do about my seeing.
Yeah. Your father puts obstacles, so your mission or your goal is thwarted. His has priority, right? Your mother has her own game, which is getting him upset. You're going to be the example. You're going to be spoiled. You're going to be the cause of it, right? That's rather clever, wasn't it?
Sorry, I missed the last part.
How about she did give you that set? I mean, can you imagine a toy which makes less noise than bowling balls?
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean,
And you set him up to knock him down.
right? I mean, right? In the house? Not, right? Set up 8 pins, you're going to roll the ball down the hallway. Right? It's all setting up. She's got her own mission.
Everybody's on a mission.
Right! Yeah. This is a missionary house.
It's all chess game.
Yeah!
And your mission to stop your dad's mission won't work.
Yeah.
Because your mom's still just gonna do the setup again.
Right?
Yeah.
You had succeeded.
Like their whole world is different missions.
And she's never a victim at all in this whole dream, right?
It looks like she's the cause.
Looks like.
And
No. Being on a mission is the cause. She's got her mission, you have your mission, he has his mission.
And
It's a missionary. You guys are missionaries. Playing on the word mission.
yeah, but I mean, isn't she the causing missionary, the main missionary? That's what it looks
But
like.
your father didn't know that. He's actually independently. He's got his mission independent of the episode that you just described in 1, 2, and 3. At what point in the dream would you say he got the mission? And does it relate to what precedingly was described?
Well, I'm not sure if we're using the word mission in the same way, but he.
I'm using it in a variety of ways. You're quite right. Go
Okay.
ahead.
He realized that he woke up, and when he woke up, he realized that my mom was messing with him. And on that moment, he was on a mission to do what he did.
He didn't feel it.
He never thought that it was me or that it was someone else. He realized straight away that it was her.
And this is what he goes through rather than asking, why are we so loyal to our mission?
That's right. Yeah.
That's all. Apart from that, it's a great dream.
That's right.
What's your mission?
Peacekeeper. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be thwarted, can't it?
Yeah. I don't like my mission at all.
7, how about this one? And I realize that he's doing this to freak her out. He knows what freaks her out, what doesn't. Right, the whole thing is
It's really staged.
calculated, staged. That's called normal.
He's taking all the steps. It's like,
And this is normal. That's what people do.
it's kind of like when they sound the horn before two armies attack each other. It's like,
And now they all march
and now
ahead.
They know it's time to fight.
Yeah.
But they know they're not going to actually shoot arrows at each other's heads.
Yeah.
The mission is to freak her out,
That's the.
not to break her neck.
Well,
And her mission is to play her part, to act scared.
Her mission is to.
But in
disrupt
fact, she's
him.
not really scared. She's just going to continue the fucking war. Pardon my language.
No, her mission is to start this number 7.
Yeah, and continue it. You know, like, at the end, she doesn't really submit. He doesn't really injure her.
it's just this weird power play.
Oh, I'd say it was a love game.
So,
It takes them out of play.
Love game.
so how important is it that last, next to the last line, when she cowers and submits, and she's like, "Please, don't break my neck."
Mm-hmm. How important is that?
That's her.
That's just her move.
That's her move.
Yeah.
Yeah, these
She's
are all
not-
calculated moves.
She's not giving up.
Oh no, and he knows it. It's his display of power.
Yeah.
A great dream. What do you make of it?
Can I ask something? Which is, you said your mom, I see that in 3, that your mom was setting you up to be noisy, right? And wake your dad. I get that. But that didn't happen, right? Or did it happen? Because it sounds like she's getting the blame
Not
for
really.
the noise.
It didn't happen really. It started to happen, but we didn't actually start making any significant noise. But I think she did.
Oh,
I
okay.
think she was
'Cause
back-
that's why I was wondering why you were saying she was to blame when I couldn't see it in the dream. But if the dreamer is saying that, I'm
think,
fine with that.
Yeah, it's as if it doesn't matter.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
It could exist without.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The structure
Oh,
of mission
or maybe-
is already there.
It's all formal,
Yeah.
It's all formal.
Vacuuming or something.
Wow. What a
right?
Maybe
it's
it-
like everybody in the family has their script, and it's passed around.
But so the father, is it the script? I don't see why he's already mad waking up,
Yeah.
right? Does it say, I don't see it in
I may
here.
have gone a bit too fast there. Maybe my dad, when he came out of the room and saw me with the toy,
Ah.
maybe that's when he realized what she was doing.
Oh, like the setup that
Yeah.
it's her that gave you the bowling ball toys.
Yeah. Or maybe she was already vacuuming and making noise in the adjacent room at that time.
He walks up, goes up, kid there to piss me off, check. Wife down the hall.
Right.
Check.
yeah. All the signs.
Time to play. I'm gonna get mad about this.
So I got that little toy which wouldn't wake up Dad, but Mom told me to go play with it, knowing the law that if you wake up Dad, you lose your head. So it's perfectly normal.
Yes.
That's love, maybe.
I have a feeling this has a lot to do with my work.
Twice. Twice.
What?
I don't know what's not exactly what, but there is all these weird rules about not saying things and
There sure is.
Yeah.
That's in the first sentence, isn't it? First section.
After you get punched.
Is Matt the person that you were?
Punched you.
no, nobody's in my work in the dream. That's in the dream, but just
See, the rules are established so you guys can do the work without playing.
without playing.
Yes. You're not allowed freedom to do it in a playful spirit. So everyone has to undermine the spirit of freedom and creativity, then they can go to work. Then it's work. They have to transform labor into work. That's a goal. Right?
Yeah, like this guy that I'm working for, he seems to always pick these clients that are not gonna be a smooth job, are not gonna,
Without conflict.
without serious conflict.
Yeah.
He says this doesn't usually happen, and this hasn't happened for a year or 2 years, but I don't know if that's true.
He carefully picks his business to preserve something.
It looks like
Yeah.
the woman we worked for before was pretty crazy. This one is on another level crazy.
No, see, one of the goals in
Yeah.
our culture, we have a work-driven culture, and the goal of many people is to have a business so they can mistreat people underneath them. Has nothing to do with profit. That they can play out their game. So you got a great job, but someone has to decide how to make it miserable. Now you can go to work. Makes sense. Right?
Wait,
It makes sense.
That does make sense.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Make it
It's like it can't be easy. It's like
Can't be.
it's not
Yeah.
allowed to be easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
This guy, see, like this guy that I'm working for, he has all these great tools, very expensive tools. He has he has like $50,000 worth of tools, and has great skills, and he works on high-end jobs. But the clients that he chooses to work for are like,
Don't appreciate his art.
they're nuts.
They're nuts. Yeah, that's why, that's life. Yeah. That's why they work.
Actually, he
He
said,
got someone like his wife.
wait, for the clients, you mean?
His clients are like his wife.
Have you met his wife?
No, but I've heard stories.
That's why he goes to work.
That's why people go to work, so they can play out their game on employees.
So they can talk about their wives.
Sure.
Husbands.
They're not
Choose their
stupid.
wives like they choose their jobs.
Right? They're not stupid.
No.
Oh, it makes sense of my own work. What they're doing there.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
unresolved, but interesting.
What? No. Of course it's not resolved.
That's right.
It's to be perpetuated.
It's to be perpetuated? What?
Well, yeah, that's the way it is.
But it's nice to
Your
see.
dream, everybody allows everything to go on. Everybody knows everything, and they know it's all absurd, but they all agree to it, and they play off their roles. It's perfectly normal. By the way, you may not want to be normal, But then you better be careful about being among such normal people.
You get a hammer accidentally on your,
Yeah.
Or chairs thrown across the room.
Check on your foot, right?
What's amazing again how similar it is to continuing the theme of Jeff's dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff has one way of approaching it, and he tries to call it out in some sense, and leads to a conflict which he ends up like it, and you end up ignoring it. It's still gonna play itself out anyways, and
yeah,
you know, like it's just the other side of it. There's still
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
solution in either one of them. So that way it's unresolved. We haven't seen how to put words on such a thing that it brings it to light and stops it, or makes it an object of discussion.
except that it may be that individual can stop it for themselves rather than the game chart. You can't change the game.
Any one of them. Any one of them can stop the game.
Yep.
But when we're in it, when he's in it, he's observing in his dream, and when Jeff is being, in his dream, he's
Mhm.
affected by the mouth smacking.
Mhm.
Then everyone's caught up in that role,
That's right.
and then so
The mission.
is that the mission?
That's the mission. That's their role. It's a good word for the game we play.
I
Their
like that.
missions.
We'll change it to the Pathologos mission.
But going
Sure.
back to the beginning, right? When, or let's say, like you see an injustice, and if you can't take a position of being right, then how does one?
I mean, I don't know what that means. Take a position
Well,
of being
earlier
right.
no.
I don't know what you mean by taking a position of right.
Well, before the meeting, how we're saying when you hold to the idea that you're right, that's false, or that's holding to an image, right?
Well, that's, of course, that. A couple of qualifications for that. Feel
So I
right.
guess, like,
feel right. Not,
Yeah.
Not being right.
I guess it maybe like
Because
doesn't it
being
bring
right
up the,
has no feeling. But go ahead.
doesn't bring up the question of how do you deal with injustice or something unjust, right? Like
Sure.
appropriately. That's anyway. That's the question I have.
Yeah, but see, you have to drop. Like in this dream. Can anyone oppose something unjust going on in their world? It's irrelevant. Being on a mission is what's most important, and everybody agrees to play the game,
Right.
and everyone plays it. Injustice, like, please don't confuse this with what we're doing. I mean, how dare you bring up something real?
Well,
I mean, reality is not allowed in this household.
I mean that. Isn't
What's
that
the matter
bigger-
with you?
bigger-
Don't you
bigger
know our
problem?
rules?
Like people that have brought up the real, right? They get rid of them, like Socrates, all these figures.
Yeah.
I also have a question in terms of whether this is similar to the Michael Jordan idea, because how similar is your dad and mom functioning like you function with respect to the image of Michael Jordan? Or took him on,
Wasn't clear. Well, thank
it
you.
wasn't clear.
Appreciate it.
Let me
Yeah, thank you.
see if I can clear it up. If it wasn't clear,
What was it clear
Yeah.
to you?
it wasn't clear.
What
just-
was it clear to you?
Are you walking around?
It was hard to answer because it wasn't specific.
Yeah, that's the point.
The idea of taking on an image of Michael Jordan and occurred to me as being similar to how his parents were functioning in that they were ignoring what they were doing.
It's not clear.
Okay.
Because
May
it's
not be.
negative, it's a negative what they were not, right? So
Pardon?
what they were ignoring is negative. You're going to lose the power of what you started with, which is you were picking up the Michael Jordan episode and seeing if that can play a role in understanding the dream.
Well, maybe being very simpler, that the earlier dream of Michael Jordan may be put into the origin is actually represented in this dream of his issue regarding, or picking up the image of Michael Jordan as a warrior and not seeing that that is a problem.
That doesn't.
Okay. I was just seeing that maybe the two dreams may be one
But
this
you're
is
not
showing
taking.
the source of that.
Let's see, look here. You need to take what you just said and relate it to the dream to make the connection. See.
Okay. Well, your dad and your mother are, well, they end up fighting, but in that sense, they are very one-pointed on a mission, and they ignore, well, they're on a mission. And maybe I misunderstood the dream with Michael Jordan, but it struck me that it was that the image of Michael Jordan functioned as an image of how to be and how to, I guess another word, mission yourself in life. I don't know how, okay, that's enough.
No, now you need to connect
So,
it.
okay,
You touched on it, but you
that you're taking on the image of Michael Jordan, how similar is that to your parents taking on a mission?
that's better.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, you could answer that. I'm
Yeah.
waiting for him
Oh,
to
okay.
answer.
Yeah, I'm. There's a similarity in the way that my dad is, the way that he grabs my mom, is similar to the dream I did, the last dream. Because I grabbed my mom in the dream as well. And that was the kind of the warrior Michael Jordan mode.
See, Regina picked up the image of the warrior, right, with Michael Jordan and the word image. Is your father a warrior in that dream, carrying out a warrior image? And could that be similar to the Michael Jordan image you had?
Right.
That would,
Yeah.
Yeah, that would bring it together.
okay. Thank you, guys.
I'm here. Before you, here. Yeah. I asked
Here, huh?
for